Hi everyone, welcome to this lesson on Tommy Emmanuel's version of Saturday Night Shuffle, originally by Merle Travis. As always, only the first part will be released on YouTube. For full access, please head over to my brand new website or my Patreon page. The difference between the two is explained on the landing pages. If you want the tab or notation file, then do visit the website, as you'll get a nice discount on music notes if you order the tab there. Saturday Night Shuffle is a fitting song for the occasion. Which occasion, you might ask? Well, this is my 50th Tommy Emmanuel tutorial, and I want to grab this moment to thank all of you for the ongoing support. You have made this hobby grow into a real job, one with a high degree of satisfaction on my end, I might add. Without the support on Patreon and the new website, it would not be possible to sink in all the necessary hours to make one of these tutorials, so if you haven't joined up, please consider doing so. It is a lot of work, but I enjoy it and I want to keep doing it as long as possible. To the song then. Saturday Night Shuffle has become a trademark tune by Tommy, and you only have to listen to it once to know why. A catchy melody, an infectious groove, and a truckload of Tommy's signature single note licks. Some of them are comical, some of them are downright frightening. I started this lesson using Tommy's most recent Shorts video, as it is a 1-minute summary of everything that makes this song so appealing. Then I went looking for some older versions to add some more variations and fills to this very short take. I then tried to set up this lesson in such a way that it starts with the easiest possible version of the song, and I'll be gradually adding more variations and tricks. So it's no surprise that this is a long lesson. I'm more or less teaching you several versions of each part of the song. You can pick how far you take it when you start out. For instance, learn the first version of the verse, the first version of the bridge, and the ending, and you already have a first complete take on the song. Adding variations and different licks can always be done later. In this first part, there are quite a few choices you'll have to make that will carry over through all of the other verses too. So it is the slowest video of the whole lesson by far. Take your time here in this first part before picking up speed in the next section. Good luck. Straight to plan, and the guitar is in standard tuning and I'm using a thumb pick. I guess it's possible to play the tune without a thumb pick as well, but I do think some of those single note licks by Tommy are going to give you a little bit of trouble. So if you can replace those single note licks, things might be possible without a thumb pick. Then, the way the tune is set up, you always have 8 bars to each verse. Basically, it's 6 bars of thumb picking, and then in bars 7 and 8, you always get a single note lick. Those single note licks are probably going to be the biggest challenge of the tune, and I try to set up the lesson in such a way that we go progressively more difficult. That being said, let's dive into the first verse. I'm going to drop well below concert speed already to give you a first look at what you're up against. Here we go. Straight into verse number 2. Short but quite spicy, there's a lot going on already. Tommy opens the tune by giving a big whack on an open G chord, ring finger 3rd fret, low E string, pinky 3rd fret, high E string, on the 4th beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, to a standard C chord. 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret with the ring finger, middle finger, index finger on the A string, D string, and B string. You're still holding down the pinky on the 3rd fret on the high E string. There are a few instructional videos by Tommy himself where he explains that he tries to hold down the middle finger on both the D string and the G string at the same time whenever he's playing that bass note on the D string, giving you a C 6th chord, and at the same time he's holding down the A string and the low E string with the ring finger at the same time as well. Now, I don't think both or either of those things are actually necessary to play the tune. It is going to make things very difficult for most people. The melody line actually uses an open G string most of the time, and it sounds fine if you just play the D string and the open G string instead of that second fret on the G string as well. And there is more than enough time to alternate with the ring finger between the A string and the E string. Let's have a look how we can play this then. So you start by whacking that C chord on the first beat and then immediately bass note on the D string together with the melody note on the high E string. Then index finger to the B string, just holding down the C chord. Then the ring finger alternates to the low E string. You remove the pinky on top, low E string and high E string at the same time. And then you drop the pinky back down before you head back to the D string. So if you practice this, then just play that first instead of always whacking that chord. Just a bass note on the first beat will do too. And now you will see that whenever I have the option, and we talked about this in other lessons as well, I'm going to try to play two bass strings at the same time whenever I'm heading to the D string. So in this case, there is a melody note on that first bass note, which makes that next to impossible. So just one string. Now the next bass note is all alone, and I'm trying to play the G string and D string at the same time. Not by means of force, not by muscling in and digging in hard, but by angling the thumb pick slightly forward and trying to catch that G string as I pick the D string. This is what is going to give you the most percussive sound. So, and just those two strings at the same time really make a difference. Repick that high E string, and now there's already a first choice for you to make. Tommy goes for this chord voicing, which is an F dominant 9th chord with the thumb over the side of the neck, first fret on the low E string, a bar across 4 strings from the D string to the high E string on the first fret, adding the middle finger on the second fret on the G string and keeping the pinky on the high E string 3rd fret. This might be playable for some people, but in a second you're going to have to use the pinky, you're going to have to remove that and then drop it down on the 4th fret on the B string while holding down this chord shape, which I think is very, very difficult, especially if you don't want to hammer on or like that open E string, sorry, that 1st fret on the E string is still ringing out, and I always get a hammer on without wanting it on the 4th fret on the high E string. Two options. You either, if this is too tricky, and that is the case for me, so I'm going to use one of the alternatives, you can just go for the standard F chord. Instead of that 1st fret down below on the D string, you're going to play the 3rd fret, so thumb over the side of the neck, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, small bar across the 1st fret, and then the pinky on the high E string. Or you can just go for a full bar as well. For people who don't like using the thumb over the side of the neck, a full bar is possible too. Bar across the 1st fret, all strings, ring finger 3rd fret on the A string, middle finger 2nd fret on the G string, and always keeping the pinky on the 3rd fret on top. Let me first give you the version with the thumb over the side of the neck. And that is where that pinky needs to go. Even with the standard F chord shape, it is asking quite a lot of the fretting head. But I do get why Tommy's doing this, because the change from this C chord to this F chord is very efficient. It's much more efficient than switching to the full bar and switching back to a C chord in a second. So if you're looking for that efficiency, then this is probably where you're going to find it. The picking pattern is the same thing whether you use the thumb over the side of the neck or if you use the bar. This is what is happening. That first melody note is in front of the beat. 3, 4, 1, 2. So melody note, bass note on the low E string, repick the same melody note, 3rd fret on the high E string, bass note on the D string. Again, if possible, play 2 strings. 3, 4. Then you remove the pinky. You have that small bar across 2 strings on top. You play the 1st fret on the high E string. 3, 4. And then the difficult part, dropping down the pinky on the 4th fret with the pinky on the B string while playing the low E string bass note again. And this is difficult to play. There is no other way. The bar makes this a lot easier. We'll look at that in just a second. And luckily you only have to hold down that pinky really briefly, just for 1/8 note. 3, 4. Playing the 1st fret on the B string, still holding down that small bar, and then a bass note on the D string and G string again. 3, 4. And back to our original C chord, the thing we played in the 1st bar, and we're basically going to repeat the 1st bar in full. Now the exact same thing with the bar, the fingerings are the exact same thing, it's the pinky that's doing all the jumping around, and it sounds identical. 3, 4. Except for, I'm saying that it sounds identical, except now we're actually playing what Tommy is playing with that E flat down below on the D string, the 1st fret instead of the 3rd fret. 3, 4. And back to the C chord. This is actually closer to what Tommy is playing with that really big chord shape with that E flat down below in the bass. So see what you go for. Either it's the full bar with the original Tommy Emmanuel sound, or just a little bit more of efficiency with that change going from C to F. Let me connect those 2 first bars together. Those were the first 2 bars with the thumb over the side of the neck. Now with the bar. See, sounds nearly identical, but the bar might be a lot easier to play for some people. Then we play, again, our C chord. We drop down the pinky on the high E string again, 3rd fret. We play the A string and the open G string at the same time. And then the same picking pattern as the 1st bar. No changes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we move to what I think is supposed to be, or was originally, the dominant 7th chord over F sharp, but in this variation Tommy is leaving out the index finger, which is going to give us an alternative for that thumb over the side of the neck. In the original fingering, he's using the thumb over the side of the neck, 2nd fret, open D string, middle finger, 2nd fret on the G string, open B string, ring finger, 2nd fret on the high E string. If you're having trouble with the thumb over the side of the neck, the index finger is already winking at you and you can just play the chord like this. Whatever you do, make sure that you use the middle finger on the G string. It's going to make the transition into the next chord a lot easier. This is the picking pattern. Basically high E string, low E string at the same time, open B string, D string, bass note, again if you can, 2 strings at the same time. And then we drop down the index finger on the 1st fret, we remove the ring finger and we drop it down on the 3rd fret on the low E string, giving you G dominant 9th. 1, 2, 3. The chord is in front of the beat. I think Tommy only picks 2 strings, the high E string and B string. If possible, use the ring finger and pick all 3. Sounds good as well. Then the ring finger, 3rd fret on the low E string. And then again, one option, either you play just the D string and G string as another bass note, and then you get this. And then back to a C chord. Tommy does play a variation every now and then, which is instead of that last bass note just being the D string and G string, he plays the ring finger 2nd fret on the A string, the middle finger 1st fret on the A string. He whacks this together with a few open strings, and then this is really tense sounding chord, and moves up to the C chord for the next bar. And you get this. Back to the C chord. Once you connect it, it sounds fine. That chord by itself sounds really strange. Holding or sticking to the bass pattern is of course the easier option. And back to the same picking pattern, but that slide up sounds really cool. Back to the C chord. Again, a few choices for you to make. Maybe one time without the thumb over the side of the neck, but it sounds exactly the same. And you see why I told you to keep the middle finger on the 2nd fret G string. Even when you use the index finger, that finger sticks to the same position, going from the D chord to the G dominant chord. Those were the first 4 bars. A few choices for you to make, but apart from that, everything is still pretty doable here. Let's connect all 4 bars together. Now maybe let me do a take without using the thumb at all over the side of the neck. Exactly the same thing. See? No thumb needed at all. You can play it all just in traditional fingerings. Then back to the same C chord pattern. Exactly the same thing we played in the first bar, and then the big challenge for this song, the bend on the F chord. Thumb over the side of the neck. You're grabbing a small F chord, putting down the ring finger, middle finger, index finger, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret on the D string, G string, and B string, and then adding the pinky to the 3rd fret on the B string. You're going to bend up this note up a half step and then drop it back down from D to E flat and back. This is not easy to do. The way Tommy does it, and this feels a little bit unnatural for me, is he grabs the pinky and for him it's a full arm movement. He's sort of twisting the wrist and the forearm forward, giving you that bend going up and down. It was a little bit sharp, sorry. But you can also tell that in his case, the note on the D string is also being raised up slightly. You get that, but with the muting, it's not as apparent with that percussive click. Now, in the flow of the song, I find this really tricky to do. One thing to really watch out for is don't press straight down with the pinky. If you press straight down with the pinky, it's going to be really difficult to move up the string. Try to get a slight angle in the pinky, getting your pinky on top of the string and slightly diagonal at the same time. This will allow you to perform that bend a little bit easier, but it's still not going to be easy at all. The way that I like to perform this bend now is by placing the middle finger right behind the pinky, and the middle finger is sort of assisting that bend while I try to get it up that half step. And it's still not easy to do, and I'm also raising that D string slightly. It's something you need so much physical strength for that one bend that it's nearly impossible to keep that D string in its axis. So this is what it sounds like. You start by playing just the bass note, first beat, and then ring finger on the 3rd fret D string and pinky 3rd fret on the B string at the same time. You then push up the bend a half step, and by the time it comes back down, you have to re-pick the bass note on the low E string. So it's not just bending up and down, it has to be in time as well. You have to get this. So 1, 2, 3. And this might incidentally be the only variation or the only alternative that I can offer to play this without the bend, is just sliding up and down. Again, with the bend. And it is tricky to do. By now, I'm already assisting the bend with the index finger as well. So the more the merrier in this case. It's not easy to do. Take your time. If it hurts, stop, come back to it the next day. This is really building strength in the left hand. You're not done. So 1, 2, and 3. After the bend drops down and you play the bass note on the low E string, you drop out the pinky, then first fret on the B string, then together with the D string, second fret on the G string, to an open G string all the way at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what you're going for. I don't think it's possible to play that bend using a bar. If you can prove me wrong, go ahead, post it, plaster my name all over it and tell everybody I was wrong. But it is going to be extremely difficult. What you can do is replace it with a slide. Going up, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm basically playing the same thing, just replacing the bend with a slide going up. So I'm now playing bass note, D string and B string at the same time, sliding up and then dropping the pinky back down and repicking with the low E string. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all the way at the end, you have to let go of the bar to get that open G string. So one more time, the alternative. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after that, we head into the single note lick. First time around, Tommy plays index finger on the 4th fret on the D string. Then he drops down the ring finger, which is kind of strange. You would expect a middle finger, but I do have to admit it kind of works. Then you drop the ring finger across 3 strings, D string, G string, and B string. You first play D string, again the D string, and then with the index finger and middle finger, the G string and B string. 1, 2. And now you repeat the same pattern, but it starts with a little bit of timing displacement. It's moving throughout the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. See? So let me double up the count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then the original is just dropping down the bar to the 3rd fret and then ending up on, again, a C chord. Tommy only plays the D string, G string, and B string, but you can fret a full C chord if you want. Another G chord on the 4th beat, and we're back off into the next verse. So that single note lick all the way through. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. In more recent versions, Tommy adds a little embellishment, a quick slide. Then he's not using the full bar, but just the ring finger and the pinky from the 4th fret, sliding down to that 3rd fret. Then you get this. See? So let me count along. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And we're off into the next verse. That was the full first verse. The good thing is a lot of what you learned here is going to pop up all over the next verses as well. So we talked a lot about different alternatives, and you are going to be putting those to use in the next verses as well. Let me play the last 4 bars one more time. And that bend hurts when you do it this slowly. So one more time, maybe the whole 8 bars, one more time all the way through. I'm going to give you a version with a thumb and a version without the thumb, so with all the alternatives included. First, the more or less original version. And then one time with all the variations included. So you see, it is possible to play it without the thumb over the side of the neck as well. That was all for verse 1. Few choices to make, but those choices are going to help you throughout the rest of the song too. So take your time on this part, and I'll see you again soon for part 2. Take care.